Hello and welcome back to a new video. My name is Kizzy and today we're going to be talking about some books. So sorry about the dodgy angle, the washing the background and the weird background. This will change in just a moment, but I just went to edit the video and realised that I only filmed like the intro for some reason didn't film. I don't know why, but it's not there. So just a little intro. We are going to be talking about my most surprising books of 2020. As I said in my best books of 2020, some of these books are almost on that list, but they just surprised me by pretty much how much I like them, basically. So obviously I'll be going into more detail on each book as I go through them, but that's just basically the video. And the first book that I'm going to be talking about is Clap Where You Land. This was such a surprising book because not only is it in poetry, which I do not read, but I do think because it's in it's like one fluid story, it was much easier for me to get into as a poetry form. But it was just so good. It was very good. Very good. I would highly recommend. So this book was a book about two girls whose father unfortunately passed away in a plane crash. However, there's a little bit of a twist to it. One girl is in, I believe it's the Dominican Republic. I could be wrong. I will check it, and if I am wrong, I'll put the correct place here. And the other one in New York, I believe, in the USA. And each girl does not know that the other one exists. So the dad has two families, and one secret family, obviously, depending on which side you are. And obviously when he passes away, it becomes known to each of the other girls that they actually have a sister, that there was another family. And it's an amazing story about them coping with their grief of their father passing, but also of discovering this new person, this new family member, and just how to deal with that, and the advantages and disadvantages each has had from living in the different cultures and the different economic climates of the USA and the Dominican Republic, and just general kind of hardships that come along with the lives that they've lived. And it's just, yeah, it's a great book and I would highly recommend it if it sounds like you're interested in it. I think this would be really good in audiobook. So I read all of this like physically in like a couple of hours. It did not take me long to get through. I absolutely consumed it very quickly. But I do think this would be really good in audiobook because I think poetry as like a form does read better when it's read in how it was meant to be like performed. I'm quite like stoppy and starty like with all the different lines, so it's not very fluid. So I think this would be really good in audiobook. If you've read it in audiobook, let me know how you found it. I'd be interested to actually see if it is better in audiobook or not. So yes, I will get into the video, that's actually the rest of the video with the proper setup and everything now. The next book that is most surprising to me was actually a children's book, which is why it was most surprising, because whilst I love children's books, they have more of a nostalgia to them than if I was to read normally. Like, I just don't tend to get as much of a connection to them. Obviously, I haven't read that many children's books recently, and it's actually something I do want to look into doing a little bit more. But this is one I read for uni, and it was The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, and I just adored it. It was such a sweet little story, and I would actually recommend it. It obviously has a lot of interesting things to say about class systems and everything like that, but it was just a sweet little story. It reminded me of reading Bramley Hedge when I was younger, and like just the little lives of the little creatures, you know. And it was just a very sweet little book that I really enjoyed, and the friendship between Mole and Rat was lovely. Toad was not what I expected. I had ideas about what he was going to be like, but he was quite funny and his storyline was quite funny as well. And I actually flew through it. So, surprising book of 2020. The next book I have is one that almost got onto my best books of 2020, and this is My Dark Vanessa. This is a very hard book to read and to force yourself to read, but if you can, I think it is very eye-opening, very well done, it will stick with you. It will be difficult for you to read. It won't be a comfortable read, but I think it's a necessary one. If you can, obviously don't force yourself through it. If it's something that is very it's a harrowing subject, and it follows a girl who has been sexually raped, but she doesn't necessarily agree with that fact because she was so well groomed. You follow two storylines, her in the present day kind of coming to terms with the fact that she was sexually raped, and the other storyline of how it actually happened. And it can be very uncomfortable at times, but I think it was handled very well. I think it was very effective, and just it will stick with you for a very long time. And if I do read contemporaries, I do like them to be hard hitting. I do like them to tackle quite hard topics, and this did that. This did that, but I didn't expect it to be quite so effective and so well done and so just impactful, if that makes sense. Like I knew it was going to be hard. I knew what it was going to entail. I just didn't think it was going to be as well done as it was. So you've been warned. It's very difficult, like uncomfortable to read, but an incredible book, and one that I would definitely recommend. I would recommend reading Lolita beforehand. It is referenced quite a few times. I haven't read it, still need to read it, but I think you'd understand those references a lot more if you'd read Lolita. Obviously it's not necessarily, because I did also read it and thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, I don't know enjoyed it, that's the wrong thing, but like appreciated it without reading it. So yes. The next book we have is another Brandon Sanderson. He has been mentioned in every single one of these videos I've done so far, but that is Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, obviously. Now this is surprising because when I was like looking all the videos of like what Brandon Sanderson should I read first, what order should I read them in, etc, etc, everyone that's mentioned Elantris and the order and stuff was like, it's not the best book, it's okay, but you know, whatever, just read it so you can read the others, basically. I disagree. I loved Elantris. I think it didn't make it onto my top books, but it was between this and Warbreaker. Warbreaker just about won, and I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the romance in it. It's not your typical romance. The romantic people are not together for the most of the book, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it has one of the best female characters that Brandon Sanderson writes. He doesn't write very many of them in his books. They are quite male dominated, of the ones I've read so far. She was one of the best ones. I thought the other male man character is really good. I thought the world was the most interesting. Obviously it was the first Sanderson I'd read, so I didn't really know much about it, his kind of writing style and his creativity that he has in his books. So I was pretty blown away by it, and it was just incredible. It was just such a good read. I like the storyline. I just, yeah, would recommend Elantris. Very surprised at how much I enjoyed Brandon Sanderson. And obviously that then spiraled into my reading the next, I think I read 6 books of Brandon Sanderson's books last year. 7. I read 7 of his books last year. So I caught the bug from reading Elantris. But the final book that I have on this list is Where the Crawdads Sing. I think it's by Celia Owens, or yes, I think that's her name. This was a surprise because 1, I didn't know what it was about. 2, I just seen pictures of it on Instagram. I thought it looked like a nice book. And 3, it is not something I would have enjoyed at all if someone had described it to me. If someone had described it to me saying, oh, it's about a girl who grew up on a marsh, she lives alone, and she's fascinated by nature, I would not have read that. I would not have read that book. It does not appeal to me at all, but it is incredible. You will love it. The main character is the most resilient, independent, self-sufficient character that I have ever read in a book, who is just so strong, and she's amazing. The world is quite nice. Like, it's a contemporary history. I know those think that's not a thing, but it's like a modern history, set in modern history. I think it's like the 1950s, 60s, 70s, sometime around then. And like her little world that she creates for herself is it's just a lovely read. There are hard bits in it. There is I believe there is violence and sexual violence within it. I can't remember how explicit it is at the moment, but I think it's only one section, but obviously it does impact the novel. As you are following it, there's kind of 2 storylines. The main is obviously her storyline from when she is a child all the way up to at the end of her life, and the other storyline is woven into the background in very small chapters, and it follows a murder that's happened kind of like in her 20s or like later teens, early 20s, I believe, and they kind of all believe that she's involved in it, and it's just kind of the build up to that point, and it's just, I loved it. I really loved it. Again, it was just like being like cuddled in a book when you're reading it. So I loved it. I'd recommend if you like contemporaries, if you like romance, if you like slow paced but worth the payoff books, then I would recommend this one. So there we have it. We have my top 5 books that were most surprising to me in 2020. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it. If you would like to see more of this face on your screen, please subscribe to my channel and you will get to see more of it. Lucky you. Thank you again for watching. Thank you for making it this far in the video, and I will see you in the next one.